Hi, Vanessa. How's it going?
Good, good. Nice to see you again.
You
Thanks for
too. How's work?
good, good. Yeah, I'm off the rest of the day for this and other appointments, ready to get this weekend started. So much
Yeah,
planning going on this
yeah,
month.
nice, nice. Yeah, didn't get a chance to go actually to the prep for the call. So I'm just gonna go ahead and wing
You're
it.
good. The questions are all on the Notion
Yeah,
anyway.
I did go through those at least, so I think I'm prepared. I prepared myself to answer some,
If
yeah.
anybody is prepared for this, it's 100% you. Like when I saw you were on the panel, I was like, "Oh, like she's got this. We're going to have a good turnout, good answers." You have so much to work with too. There's one question in particular too, where the success stories. I am a success story of Latinas in tech. So I am super excited to hop on that question.
Yes, please. Oh my God, I would love to learn more about that. I mean, I honestly felt like uh I mean, I've heard a lot of stories. I also started a chapter in Chicago, and I get a lot of people reach out and say, hey, because of this event at Google, I was able to like do this and this. And I always get so excited to hear that stuff. Like, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's awesome that you were able to do it through Latinas in Tech.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you'll get to hear the full story in a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
awesome.
Val.
Hello, can you guys
Hi,
hear me?
girl. Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. This is super exciting because I don't know if the background looks at all familiar, if people have been watching earlier sessions or sessions on the one on YouTube, but this is actually Annalise's house, which is really nice. It's my first time meeting Annalise, who's a Techqueria badass. And now we'll be doing like the after party afterwards, and it's her and me coordinating it. So we figured, let's just work together today.
I
That's
love that.
awesome.
Yeah, she made me a cup of tea. I'm so happy right now.
The community is strong. That's awesome.
So what time are we going live?
Oh, we are, girl.
We're live. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of figured with the viewers like increasing.
Oh, now it's
Uh,
increasing. I see it. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
We're just giving it a couple more minutes to let the other panelists hop on.
Yeah. Got it. I was like, I use this platform. I should know this, but I'm
You
like,
had a
it's
big conference on this platform, so yeah.
yeah, yeah. Although, to be fair, I was still new to Latinos in Tech, like
Mm,
staff, when we had our summit. So I actually started as a volunteer, for the first 2.5 years, and
mm-hmm.
just recently transitioned to staff like 6 months ago, right during the summit. And the platform was totally new to me. It had to be taught to me. Like, I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Like, who am I letting in here? Who's a moderator? Now I consider myself a semi-pro, because I'm still afraid of StreamYard and other things that are that are part of this platform.
I can definitely hear you on the whole meeting someone to like walk you through all things Hopin, because this was the first conference that I've ever put together. And I also knew nothing about Hopin other than having attended a couple conferences. And I was like, ah! So, but we made it here, Ceci, so we're good.
It was my first time using Hopin at that Latinas in Tech conference, and I told the Hopin booth, like, I will never sign up for another conference again unless they're using Hopin, because it worked out so well. Like as a participant, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, as a moderator and as a panelist, it's a little bit different vibe, but still a really great platform.
yeah. We use it. We use it for most of for some of the special events that we have, and we still obviously use Zoom for a lot of them. So
Hmm.
I'm getting more and more comfortable each time too, like being able to navigate through the back end, because it can be tricky. It can be tricky if you're not familiar. There's so many little kinks here and there that you have to also pay attention to.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, here we go. Wilkin is going to join us. Work. Hey, Wilkin.
Hi, let me readjust my settings because I cannot hear you.
Yeah, take your time.
Sometimes it's headphones.
We're going to give it one more minute until we start this roundtable.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yes, you sound crystal clear.
I cannot hear you for some reason. Let me see. Technology can be painful sometimes.
Can you hear us, Wilkin?
No, I cannot hear any of you.
Me being tech support and stuff. Let me get in.
Yeah, go ahead. This is why it's always good to have someone from Techqueria on the panel.
Yeah. Vanessa, we should definitely plug in our event that's coming up next week.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. 100%. That's all I've been doing. Actually, I'm going to talk about it next week in front of the entire company, which is exciting. You'll probably get more RSVPs on the day of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Normally we do see a big increase on the day of, but I'm really, really excited for that one. It's going to be super cool.
Yeah, I'm ready to wrap up this Hispanic Heritage Month.
I mean, look, I love that this is our heritage and this is what we're doing, but there is so much work that goes into it too. Obviously, you guys know from Techqueria that this is, this takes a lot to do this summit. It takes a lot to do a summit. Any kind of event takes a lot. And then my role is mostly like all about events too and programs. So, Techqueria should know this. Like all of you should know this. Hispanic Heritage Month is like the busiest time of the year for us too.
100%. So many days just working 12 plus hours, and I'm just so happy for tomorrow when I get to sleep in and knowing that I'm not going to have to be like, typing away planning this the next week. Just finally get to relax, and it'll be, my own version of Latinx month where I do nothing. And
yeah. Well, to be fair, I feel like with our communities, it's always Hispanic Heritage Month because we're always doing this kind of work.
Yeah. 100%.
This is just a little more emphasized. Like this time is like more emphasized, so we're more working a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Wilkin, can you hear us? Brittany, thank you for joining.
I have a better idea.
All right. And Leticia. Awesome. Okay, looks like we have a full panel now. I'm going to go ahead and get started then. Thank you all for coming to this Latinx Community Roundtable. In this roundtable, we're going to be talking about the various Latinx organizations that you can join, why it's important to join them, and how they can help you progress in your careers. We're going to do intros really quick, if that's okay. I'll go ahead and go first. My name is Vanessa Romero. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I am based in Austin, Texas. My background is Mexican American, and I work at Expedia Group. I am gonna call on Ceci just because she's the next person on my screen.
Great. I was like trying to follow. I'm like, okay, pronouns, all that. Hi, everybody. My name is Ceci or Cecilia Fisher Benitez. My pronouns are she, her, and ella. I am based in Chicago, Go Bears, and I am a program manager at Latinas in Tech. And I'll pass it over.
Val, you're next. Yeah.
Awesome. Val. Hi, everyone. My name is Val. You might have seen me around a lot throughout the summit. I am the events lead for Techqueria. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I'm currently, I'm based in the Bay Area, so originally, or often in San Jose, but right now I'm in San Francisco, which is fun. And my background is Peruvian. So I can pass it on to Wilkin. Wilkin, can you hear us now?
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent. Technology can be painful sometimes, like I was saying earlier. My name is Wilkin Sanchez. I'm from the Dominican Republic. My pronouns are he, him, él. I'm based in Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Rhode Island Group for Hispanic Technology, which is an organization that provides training and technical assistance to the Hispanic community of Providence and the state of Rhode Island as a whole.
Brittany, if you want to go next.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Brittany Rodriguez. My pronouns are she, her, ella. My background is Mexican American. I am currently a program manager with 8 years of industry experience in finance, customer success, app engineering, and business operations. I'm located in Seattle, Washington, and currently serve as the administrative director with Latinx Geeks. And happy to be here.
And Leticia.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Leticia Martinez. I am the current president for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, the San Francisco chapter. Professionally, I am an electrical engineer for the local utility here at Pacific Gas and Electric. And my pronouns are she, her, and ella. I think I got everything.
Awesome. Thank you all for introducing yourselves and your organizations. Just to reiterate, this is a safe space. We're here to share stories and empower each other and encourage each other to really lean into our Latinx communities. I'll go ahead and get started with the first question. And this is for Brittany. What is the true power of community in regards to tech? And why do more people need to be involved?
I think this is a great question. I started this off with a quote that I thought of, which I've heard a lot about last year when I was going through my journey of being a Latina in tech, but not really sure what that meant or what does it mean to be in a technical space. And the quote that resonated with me and stuck with me is, if you can see it, you can be it. Me growing up, my background is in accounting. I studied accounting at the University of Texas, and I somehow ended up in tech. And I didn't end up here without someone encouraging me. And they said, like, hey, you should apply to a customer success manager role. I was like, I don't know what that is. There's no way I'm going to qualify. But it took that gentle push from a friend that made me, just take that leap of faith. And through that, I discovered other things like no code development and engineering and going into consulting. And now I'm a program manager for a major tech company. And I realized that I didn't know that that was possible because I never saw that the way that I grew up. Being first generation college graduate, first generation corporate America professional, first generation in tech. For me, there were a lot of things that I didn't know about. So for me, what's most important is the representation that we have in careers in education in STEM. Also, just the knowledge of knowing about technology, like what that is, like introducing an Echo app to, your parents, or like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want anyone knowing like what's going on. For me, like when I started seeing how much isn't known, I'm like, wow, someone needs to talk about this, even if it's just like your journey of being the first to do many of those things. So for me, the power of community is with organizations like Latinas in Tech, Latina Geeks, Techqueria, SHIP, where there are people like us who have experienced many of those first, who are willing to give back, who are willing to show that there are opportunities outside of the norm or the traditional career paths of going through, computer science or engineering. Like, you can still get there, but just because you don't have that degree doesn't mean that you can't do it. And I think that, all of us coming together and just having those conversations and saying, hey, it wasn't easy for me. I think that speaks to the power of the community that we can bring, of all of our differences, and just having that safe space of, even going into a Slack channel, like somewhere like the Techqueria Slack, and saying, I don't know what JavaScript is. Does anyone want to help me? And then just seeing how willing someone is to help you from across the nation or even across the world. For me, I think there's real power in sharing the knowledge or even sharing your struggles. And I see that being very important and evolving even more with all of the amazing organizations that are out there and that are continuing to thrive.
+1. Yeah. we're the first for many of our families. We're the trailblazers in this industry. And I'd love to hear this response in an engineering context. Leticia, why is it important to get involved, especially if you're an engineer, like to get involved with SHIP?
Yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar with us, we are a national organization. There's about 3,000 of us now nationwide, and about like 286 chapters. The majority of the chapters are collegiate based. So a lot of us started off when we were in college, just like similar to what Brittany and all of our stories is. We're first generation. Some of us are undocumented. So it's just trying to find like that familia aspect, since, you know, we are leaving our families, and just find that network of us. And since engineering is a pretty, you know, really hardcore Regis major, is just trying to find like that network, and just getting those resources that a lot of the people who might be in the same situation might find helpful. And then once we graduate, we kind of become professionals, and then it kind of switches. So like we're now the mentors, or we're the ones kind of giving back and becoming the mentors of future engineers, which is amazing. And which is why I kind of sticked around for so long. And I've been on our board for about 8 years now, and it's my first year being president. And also I think it helps me to find those leadership positions. Like it's like my practice. I kind of feel like when people join the board for any nonprofit outside of their professional career, it's kind of like our practice of being leaders, you know, and then that might transition into our professional aspect. And then people who can see us in those roles, and then strive and be like, hey, I can absolutely do that too. So it's kind of like what Brittany was saying, is just us just existing in these spaces is just powerful in itself, without even words just speaking. Is just seeing our faces or even our picture in some of those like C-level positions. I think that's what the mission is for a lot of the organizations that we're all a part of. And I think one of the things that Jasmine was saying when we initially were trying to kind of brainstorm what this conversation was going to entail was that there is so much work that needs to be done. And I love that there's so many different organizations like Latinx in Tech, Techqueria, like we all have the same mission, you know, we just want to see more of us in these spaces. So it's just, we're creating these like network pods, and then people can relate, you know, and they can do it, all of it, or they can just find one. It doesn't matter. Like we're not in competition with each other. We're just trying to create these safe spaces for people.
Absolutely. And you don't realize you're missing it until you experience it yourself. I think I felt that when I went to the Latinas in Tech conference. I'd been to many different conferences before. Texas Women's Conference, that one's huge. And nothing really impacted me more than that conference, because even this one, similar experience, like just being around your own people, it feels like you can do this. And you see so many of them in upper leadership, and you think like, oh, like they did it, I can do it too. Ceci, would love to get your thoughts on this topic around why it's important.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, the power of community, you know, like the power of community. It's even hard to explain because, y'all, we're powerful. You know, we are loyal. We do hard work. You know, we're a very valuable workforce, and we have been left behind in the past. And it's time to change that and to bring everybody to this space and uplift one another, and really catch up to where we're supposed to be. I mean, all of those themes that you guys mentioned, you know, like the power of belonging is super important and super crucial. A little bit about myself, I didn't mention that I'm Mexican American, by the way. So I'm Mexican American, very proud. I moved here to the US when I was 11. So it's definitely dear to my heart. When I got into tech, I actually started the Latinas in Tech chapter in Chicago, along with my colleague Yvonne Gonzalez. Shout out to Yvonne in case you're here. So the two of us, like I honestly, like it was around the time that, you know, the whole government, well, when does the government do things right? But the whole kids in cages was happening. It still gets me so angry to remember that. But around that time, I had just gone into tech. I basically got a job as a customer service rep at Groupon. And I was there for 9 months, and then transitioned to this onboarding and in role for software engineering. I also just like that's a whole nother story on how I got into tech, because it takes a long time. But I was able to be in this position where I could finally like create community. And I was struggling because all of these things that were happening in life were really impacting my work, and I didn't have anyone to talk to. There was no other Latina in the software engineering team where I was part of. There was no other person of color in a leadership role. This is out of 150 people. I was the only one, and I even wasn't in engineering. We finally, like, I started pushing for more representation and more, like, to create that sense of belonging. And finally, we were able to create a Latinx group and try to, recruit more people that look like me from different spaces. But yeah, it's just like the power of representation is really one of the biggest things that we could give each other and give our community. And that's really kind of where I wanted to go with this. But it's just been, I can't even explain how the impact it has done on my life over the last 3 years since I started in Latinos in Tech, and see people that look like me in these roles. And we're not perfect. All of us have issues that we deal with every day in our communities. Like, I think one specifically that comes out is to my head is the first time that I went to the summit at Latinas in Tech. I was scared, because I'm also very gay and I have a wife. And it's also not for me, it was very difficult to watch this, like, all these Latinas in one room and not necessarily know, because our culture has not been, we have not been as welcoming as we are now. But in the last few years, in the last 6 years, I was terrified of telling them that I was, a lesbian, and that I had a wife, and I didn't know how they were, like, can I even lead this group? Like, are they going to let me? Like, because, what are the instances? Like, so I was afraid of feeling like I belonged anywhere, just because of my sexuality, but not necessarily because I was a woman and Latina. Like, we're all Latinos, and we feel like we belong in these spaces. But when you also carry other, like, intersectionality, items in your sleeve, it's so hard to feel like this is my own community, but do I really belong? Like, can they protect me? Like, am I safe here? So I love that we're gonna go into this conversation talking about a lot of different themes, and really just feel the power of community, because we are powerful and we really need to be having these conversations. I kind of went off a tangent there, Vanessa, but
I was writing that tangent with you. I was following along. It's like, girl, keep talking. I'm sensing a lot of pride from all the panelists, which I love, because that goes into our next question. And quick reminder to the people watching, you can definitely post your questions on the Q&A, and we'll get to them at the end. And feel free to upvote the ones that you want to ask, you're dying to ask. But let me get into the next question. This one is for Wilkin. What is one initiative that you are proud of that supports the Latinx in tech community?
Yeah, so to speak a little bit about myself, I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. I moved to the United States when I was 19, about 7 years ago. I'm 27 now. And now when I first got here, I wanted to learn about technology. I didn't have a lot of knowledge because I went to high school in the Dominican Republic. And the school system over there is not as advanced as the United States when it comes to technology. So I came here with very limited knowledge when it comes to coding, cybersecurity, and all the stuff that I really wanted to learn and found myself interested in. And I said, okay, where do I go to find the training that I want? All right, let me go to the local library. Okay, I went, but everything was in English. Well, I don't speak fluent English, so how am I gonna learn? Maybe I can understand you, but I won't be able to ask questions because I'm nervous, I'm shy. Maybe I'm gonna say the wrong word, right? So I stepped back and said, no, I'm not doing that. And one question that I ask myself all the time is, our community is very powerful. So how can we use the limited resources that we have and create something big, create something meaningful that help everyone around us, right? So after I enrolled in the Community College of Rhode Island, I graduated with an associate's degree in computer science. I said, what do I do now? Do I go back to college and maybe pursue a bachelor's degree, maybe a master's degree? Or maybe I can share the things that I know in my community so I can help people who move here from Dominican Republic, Colombia, Puerto Rico, every country around the world, and make them feel included like I didn't feel when I first got here, right? And that's how RIGHT, or the Running for Hispanic Technology, is born. We are an organization that supports everyone, people who doesn't know how to speak English, people with no college degrees, people with no legal documentation in the United States. We bring them in. We help them explore. We help them, get exposed to technology, get exposed to the things that they want to learn in the language that they speak. On a daily basis, I work with a lot of small businesses here in Providence and Rhode Island, bodega owners, barbershops, makeup artists all around the city. They probably don't want to be cybersecurity specialists, or maybe they probably don't want to be coders, but they want to learn about technology. How can I use technology so I can, improve my business, maybe stay more secure on the internet, maybe attract more customers, so on and so on, right? So I think that our community is very, very powerful. I'm very proud for the work that each one of you is doing. I follow most of you on Twitter, so I know exactly what you guys are doing. And it's a great thing. It's amazing. We are a community. We should help each one of us. And if you know something, share it with your community. Share it with someone, because I guarantee you that person will pay you back at some point, and also pay back to their community.
I wanted to give you a quick kudos for being on the panel today, because I do feel like we definitely need more male engagement and allyship. And so thank you for being here. Val, I did not forget you. I would love to get your take on this question. What are you most proud of?
That's a really good question. Thank you. It kind of throws me for a loop, because when I also think about my upbringing and stuff like that, I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is just kind of like getting to help build and like foster the growing community that we already have. And kind of like my story into finding Techqueria and stuff like that is I didn't grow up with a lot of Latino people around me. I remember when I first came to the country and I was 8 years old, I had to repeat second grade because I didn't know enough English. So I remember, during like my first time in elementary school and experiencing it and stuff like that, there was like this one girl that I had become friends with, and her name was Karina. And she was Mexican, so I could speak Spanish to her and I could like communicate and stuff like that. So already like, coming to a different country is a really big experience and like a transition and stuff like that. And I didn't remember this until I was like looking back through, like those elementary planners and stuff like that. But in the elementary planners, my teacher had actually written down, hey, I'm separating Valeria and Karina because they're talking too much to each other and I want her to assimilate. So I was essentially like moved away because, my teacher wanted me to assimilate and like learn English faster and stuff like that. But it's kind of crazy because like when you are that young and when you're first experiencing the country and stuff like that, you kind of just like take on that subliminal messaging. And so we were separated, and then I didn't really see her in third grade or like after that as well, because I moved around a lot. So in finding Techqueria, for me, it's been a lot about like reclaiming my Latino identity as well. So getting to talk to people about that, finding those like common grounds, and also digging into my roots more. I think that's one of the Latinx initiatives that I'm like most proud about. It's just that reclaiming of, there's so many complexities and nuances in the Latino identity. So I think, yeah, that's what I would say.
Brittany, I have the same question for you. What are you most proud of in this community?
So what I'll say for Latina Geeks, so Latina Geeks has been around since 2012. It was founded by two people who were based in California. So Lala Castro and Tanya. And the reason that it was created was because they saw this gap in representation. They are digital marketers, entrepreneurs, and it started off as just a tech blog. Fast forward to 2018 when it became an official nonprofit. I remember in 2018 is when I became an application engineer at a small software company in Seattle. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. So in Houston, Texas, there are so many Latinos there where, it was home for me. Moving into Seattle and being in tech was the first time that I felt like I was out of place. because even in business, graduating with accounting degree, I had an organization called Alpha that was a Latino professional org. So similar to SHIP, there was the student chapters and then the professional chapter. So my transition moving out here, working in finance at Boeing was fine. I didn't get that culture shock where I realized I was different until I started working in a small tech company in Seattle. I remember I did a Google search of are there Latina in tech organizations, and I found women tech makers. They were doing an International Women's Day, and I got selected to apply for this Women of Color luncheon. I was like, what the heck is Women of Color? I asked one of my friends, what is this? Because in business, we all have our groups. You have Hispanic or Latino business organizations, you have the Black Students of Business Organization, Asian students. But in this one, they were lumping us together. And I was so confused. I'm like, why are we all lumped together? And my friend said, well, there's not enough of us to have our own group. So I remember I created my Twitter. And when I saw that Latina Geeks was having an event in Seattle, I went to that event. And I remember feeling overwhelmed where I wanted to cry because there was a room of 50 women that were either new to tech, transitioning into tech, or just saying, like, hey, if you have questions about coding, we are here. I remember I cried looking at the founders, just thinking, finally, someone I can look up to. And I was really shy about it, and I didn't say much. I was like very timid, like just trying to absorb it all and trying to find my place there. Since they were based in California, it made me sad. I'm like, oh, I gotta wait until they come back. So I've been a member of Latina Geeks and following their journey, trying to support everything since 2018 because that was my sense of community, even though it was super far away. I also grew up in a single parent household. So that was another thing that was like a stressor for me. It was like trying to figure out how to succeed, knowing that I'm the first to leave my family. My grandma didn't understand why I did it, why I was leaving for 50K, why I didn't want to get married or, stay with my mom and just like help support them. Like, I don't know why either, but this is a life that feels right. And, like having that pressure of not wanting to fail, but then knowing that Latina Geeks was there, like they're doing it too. My dad's family's in California, so I felt like I had a reason to stay connected. And then last year, when the opportunity presented itself to be part of the executive team, my first question was, well, I'm in Seattle and your chapters are in LA and San Diego. And it's like, it's okay. Like you embody that same mission and vision of wanting to share knowledge, wanting to teach others, wanting to mentor and coach them. And for me, I'm most proud of that, of the fact that this is a community where, although it's small and like mainly based in the West Coast, when we bring in members, as soon as they're part of a webinar, even like an in-person meeting, you immediately feel like, oh my gosh, I belong here. Like there is someone like me, like I can do that too. For me, it just makes me feel so happy and proud that I felt that as a member. And even now being on the executive team, I was questioning like, wait, why me? Like I don't have any experience. It's like, you'll figure it out. We have here as a team of support. I've gotten so much experience as a marketing coordinator in digital marketing. And it's those opportunities that you don't get in the corporate world because you have to prove yourself or you have to know someone or have a friend. And that's what I love about Latina Geeks specifically, but also all of these organizations is it gives you an opportunity to challenge yourself, to see what else is out there, explore other things that you might not have been aware about. So I know that's long-winded, but that's what I'm most proud of. It's just that true sense of belonging that taps into my inner passion of wanting to give back and wanting to show others that you can be better than me. Here are all the resources that I didn't know existed. Here you go. Like, do with it what you will and make the best of it.
I love that story because I feel like it resonates so much with a lot of us. Our families don't know what our job titles mean. They don't know what we do on a day-to-day basis. They don't know why we're leaving a company. We should stay for years until we have to retire. Um, but it's an education opportunity for sure. But also like it's really nice when you do get to a point where you feel proud of yourself and successful in all you've accomplished and getting to share that with them. And I think when they see that you are happy, like they get it. They don't fully get it, but they get that they can be happy for you too. I feel like that leads into our next question really well. I am gonna pass this one to Wilkin because I really want to hear if you can share any success stories. How can joining a Latinx community like Right help those trying to level up or break into the tech industry?
Absolutely, many success stories from me. One of the stories that I'm very proud of is at the beginning of the pandemic. I was feeling overwhelmed. I'm like, I'm home. What can I do? Like, is there anything that I can do for my community? I mean, I certainly cannot go out there, to do COVID tests or to help people at the hospitals. But what if I share my technical skills with my community here in the United States and also the people in the Dominican Republic? So I contact the local school district of my hometown, Bani, Dominican Republic, and I said, well, we have a lot of teachers, more than 200 teachers, that they need to teach their students remotely now. But how do they do that? I mean, they were using WhatsApp at that time. They were sending the homeworks to classes through WhatsApp. And no, this needs to change. This needs to change. So I made like about 4 or 5 workshops. And I trained them on Google Classroom. I showed them the benefits of Google Classroom, how you can implement Google Classroom for the benefits of themselves, the teachers, and also of the students. So we went viral, and one of the biggest newspapers in the Dominican Republic, they actually wrote an article about myself and Wright. And the most beautiful part is not the only workshops that I did, is how they are passing that along to other students. Right now, they are teaching coding to the classes. They never thought that they would be teaching code to the kids. Never. And because I help them spark their creativity, their imagination, what's possible in technology. Let me show you the tools. Look at them, experiment with them. Now they are, sharing that with the community. And it's amazing. The other thing that I've been doing actually since January of this year, I've been training more than 400 daycare owners of Rhode Island. Usually 90% of them are women, which is great. And, they wanted to learn about technology. Usually are women who are, 50, 60-year-old, and they've probably never been exposed to email, Word, Excel. And just seeing their faces when they learn how to send an email, using Gmail, for instance, it's just amazing. I'm like, this is very simple, maybe for every one of us here, but for them, it's great. It's going to improve their productivity. It's going to help their business grow because now they can communicate better with the parents, their customers, their vendors, and so on and so on. So I think that, joining a tech community, it's excellent, especially for our community. Sometimes we are underrepresented. We don't have representation. And if we can share the things that we know with our community, let them know that we are here for you. Come join us. Let me show you what's possible in, simple words. Because if you go talk, let's say, for instance, to my mom, I tell her, well, you got to use a VPN. What is a VPN? Don't tell me that. Oh, you got to use an authenticator, MFA. You talking French to me. They don't understand those words. But if you tell them in simple words, this is what you need. And the reason why is because of that. You're going to prevent yourself from someone stealing all your money from your bank account if they get access to it, if you don't have MFA enabled. Simple things that can definitely make a huge impact in our community.
Thanks for that. Wow, that's crazy that you got interviewed by for supporting that community and everything that you're doing over there at Right.
Yes.
I would love to hear some of the success stories from the other organizations. I'll go first with SHIP and then Latinas in Tech.
Yeah, I think when I do a lot of the panels, which is one of my favorite things of how to give back. And it's very simple. They just tell you to come. You don't have to prepare anything. And they're just asking you questions. And it could be like from career fairs in middle schools or collegiate chapters when they're like, hey, how is the transition from student to professional, right? And yeah, we give them their advice. And then I always end it. And I'm sorry, because I tend to curse a lot. So I always tend to end my panel advice to the students would be like, well, just don't turn into a fucking asshole. you know, because like so many of us, you know, are first gen and we come from like low income backgrounds. And then when, you know, they hire us, they give us, you know, a pretty high salary, which is like probably more than what our parents made. And for some of them, and I know a lot, you know, who gain so much from the organization as students, but then when they transition to professionals, it's kind of like, well, what's in it for me, you know? So like they change. And that's why I always end my panel into like, well, just don't turn into an asshole. Like, remember where you came from, stay humble, stay hungry, keep learning, you know, because the networking is so important, you know, especially as a professional, because a lot of us get references. It doesn't even matter what your GPA is anymore, what school you went to. It's about like, you know, who knows you, who can get you at least an interview, you know? And if you're not like that, they're not going to hire you, you know, like that networking aspect is so important. So that's always been like the advice I give to the students, or even like the younger professionals, because I think it's so important to give back. I'm like, you don't have to serve on the board, that's fine, you know, but it's just like when we're looking for volunteers, we're always struggling, you know, and I think it's so important for the volunteers, you know, it doesn't matter the background, but it is an added plus when they look like you know? So if we're trying to help students succeed in STEM, well then like it'd be really cool to have people that look like them. And because that's for me, that's why I joined SHIP, because I had never met a female electrical engineer until probably, I don't know, junior, senior year of my college years. And that's crazy to me that, you know, that I still even stayed with it, not knowing like any mentor model like I can look up to, you know. So for me, when I graduated, I was kind of like, hell no, put me in any panel, put me in career fairs, I don't care. I just want to be in these spaces so that at least people can see me, you know. And like maybe I did inspire someone, and that did happen one day when I did go into a conference and a girl went up there and she was really shy, and then they told her like, hey, can you talk about like who motivated you, who was your mentor? And I was so shocked because I knew that we had gone to the same college. But then she went up there and she's like, I'm just kind of more shy than normal because the person who inspired me to stay in electrical engineering is here, you know. And then she mentioned my name, and like I had only met her when I was like in passing, like as a senior, and she was like just a freshman. But the fact that she remembered me and years later acknowledged me, like that's what I'm saying, like just existing in these spaces, you don't know the kind of impact that you're making. And that's why I kind of keep doing what I'm doing. And I try to tell people to, you know, give back as well. I think that's so important.
Oh, Ceci, we got to hear from Latinas in Tech on this one.
Yeah, no, I obviously like +1 to everything everybody said so far. I mean, our community, I feel like our communities really offer a lot. Like Wilkin mentioned workshops, you know, and access to new skills to be able to level up. Like that's something that we're also trying to do at Latinas in Tech. We also provide a lot of access to connections with companies that we partner with. Like Expedia is one of them. Shout out to Vanessa for being at Expedia. Sony, Visa, Workday, Robinhood, Netflix, like all of these companies that are partnering with us to tap into our network, to get to know our network. And actually, it's super important for me to mention this too, because I like when I meet with these companies, I tell them, look, like we have very amazing people, and you can't just come in here to our house and take and say that, okay, we're gonna have an event and now we're gonna hire all of them. Like that doesn't work with us. Like we are loyal Latinos. We're Latinos that want to get to know you first. We want to see what you can offer. How are you treating your people? And then we can build that relationship to eventually maybe like go work for you. Like I think we carry that a lot from what our parents have still in us. Like we are going to be loyal people. Like we're going to do great work, but we're going to be very loyal. So I think that's something that I always say to them, like, this is going to be a great event. Get to know our members, get to know our community, and build those relationships. Don't expect that, you know, you're going to come in here and hire everybody and expect that right away, because that's not how it works. I'm like, it's like you're asking me on a date and asking me to marry you that same night, and that's not going to work. So I always try to make sure that whenever we're partnering with these partners, that they are ready for us, that they have the programs inside of them that can support us, like ERG groups, like mentorship programs, like, you know, organizations that have their shit together, because we can't also just drop everything to go to a place that we're going to feel like we're alone. So we try to hold all of these partnerships accountable for what they can offer. But as far as like success stories, I'm going to plug in here my podcast, because I have a Chicago Techies podcast where I recently talked to someone from UIC, I believe, and she's a senior, and we were talking about, you know, the importance of Latinos in these roles and representation. And then she went ahead and basically said that, you know, like what really inspired, like I was a freshman at UIC a few years ago, and I went to this event at Google that you guys were putting together, the Latinas in Tech Chicago was putting together, and it was a panel about like celebrating Latina engineers. And I was like, oh my God, I moderated the panel. And then she's like, yeah. And then she's like, yeah, that was the first time that I've seen me, like someone that looked like me, like someone that had to gone through the same, like studying the same hours, the same everything, that were now engineers. And I just had the chills, and I felt so inspired to keep going, because it is really challenging at school and blah, blah, blah. So it's out there. It's actually in the podcast. I'm not making it up, but I was super excited to hear those stories, you know, when people come to me and tell me that this is like, it's amazing to feel so inspired by these organizations that are basically like, you know, leading the way in representation and belonging, in skills, in partnerships, in everything. So it's definitely super important to be part of it. And networking, you know, we heard a lot about networking and how it's so important when looking. It is, you know, it is super important, and it is half the time about who you know. But it's also about just preparing yourself and always be learning. I saw in the comments earlier that you never stop learning. You don't. You will always be learning, and we're here to provide those opportunities for our members, all of us.
I want to share my success story really quick, because it happened through Latinx community. It was Latinas in Tech. I was already working for a very big tech company, and I was looking for a Latinx community to join here in Austin. Actually, I take that back. I was looking for a community to join, and I tried various non-tech, youth, all women, and none of them felt like home until I went to a Latinas in Tech panel. And I knew I was at home because all the ladies there brought their own Tupperware and had cooked their own meals, and were saying hi. Like, they were all so friendly with each other. And so I was like, oh, I'm in for a treat. Like, this panel is going to be amazing. And one of the panelists was director of recruiting at Expedia Group. And I just connected with her so well because she was from Texas and she was from a border town. I knew I had to talk to this lady. But, you know, those thoughts come into your head. Who am I? Little old me. You know, this lady's so high up there. And no, I went after the panel to go talk to her, and she was so humble, so easygoing, not an asshole, which is great. And connected with me after. And I, of course, I had those thoughts that all come to our minds, like, oh, should I be doing this? Should I be switching to another company? What are my parents going to think? They're not going to get it. And I did, because she invited me over to their annual picnic. And I had never seen so much diversity in the families and in the employees. And I thought, and there was a lot of pregnant women too. And I was like, okay, something's in the water, or they're doing something right, that these women felt comfortable enough to take that step in their careers. So I was like, I need to apply. I need to be at this company. So I was 3.5 years ago, and I am still at Expedia Group. And it's definitely a success story. And just a quick plug that next week we have an event with Latinas in Tech, open to everyone, and you'll get to see some of our highest Latina leaders at the company. It's going to be a great panel. I know we are at time. We did have one more question, and I don't want to go without us answering. So really quick, anyone can chime in here. The question is, what has been the most rewarding experience being a part of this community?
I can add my thoughts on that. So I think the most rewarding experience has been, me being part of the community. and also helping people be part of the community also. It's not only, at least for me, it's not only about me, it's about others around me. How can I help you? How can I help? Maybe I'm not able to help the entire country, but I should be able to help Providence. I should be able to help 1,000 people, in 5 years, for instance. So what's stopping me from doing that? Nothing. So let's just go out there, help the community, make them feel welcome. Ceci was saying that imposter syndrome is so real for all of us, and that's true. For instance, yesterday I was following a thread on Twitter, and they were saying that usually Hispanics, Black people, when they start coding, they put on Twitter, aspiring coder or aspiring software engineer. Well, you're not aspiring, you are already a software engineer. Give yourself that title. All right, I hacked a computer. I learned how to use Nmap. Well, I'm a hacker, so be it. I don't need to limit myself, because inside of me, I know what I'm able to do. And, this amazing community, we are here for each other. So I think that's been one of the most rewarding experience for me.
Yeah, and if I can add on to that, I'd say just the overall impact that I've been making, a lot of us have been making, that isn't intentional. Like, we're not doing it to get praise, to get awarded, to be asked to be on panels. I think for me, that's what's part of the beauty of being part of this community and having that true sense of leadership and staying humble, is by you just being you and doing what you feel is right, you are making a huge impact. And just seeing that, how when others come to you and say, like, because of you, like, I spoke up, or I applied for this job. I suggested to one of our web developers to apply to Grace Hopper. It's like, go do this, like, it's free, like, just apply for a scholarship, see how it goes. And when she came back, she's like, Brittany, you would be so proud of me. I actually talked to people. I joined the veterans group. It was amazing to see veteran Latinas there. And all I did was share a resource with her. But just to see how excited she was to report back, I'm like, wow, that gives me chills of just seeing like how much we could be doing. And for me, I think that's the most beautiful part of all of this. Is I just feel like I'm this small girl from Texas who's trying to figure out life in Seattle in tech. I have no idea what I'm doing, but to see that it's inspiring and motivating others to do the same, to me, that's amazing and beautiful.
Thank you, everyone, for your thoughts and your stories and being so open and awesome. And thank you for the questions. You guys got a lot of great feedback in the chat that I didn't realize was going. So look through that. They deserve all the kudos. Once again, thank you so much today. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the summit. And I think I speak for everyone when I say, please connect with us. We are all in this together and we can all only move forward together. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.